Hello everyone. Welcome to Kaleidoscope Narrative. This is the sixth episode, I think. I can't keep up.
I think
it is the sixth episode. Alright then. Sorry for the small break. We've had things happen in our lives that we needed to attend to, but it's great to be back. How are you, T?
I'm good, Jen. I'm good.
That's good to have you today.
Well, it's good to be here. I sound like one of those old Pentecostals. It's good to be here.
It's good seeing you today. Dumi, how are you doing?
I'm good, and you?
I'm alright, thank you.
Yeah, that's good.
Good to see you smiling. Hi, Shono.
Hi.
How are you doing, darling?
I'm good, thank you.
I'm alright, thank you. It's good to be here. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the topic regarding abstinence. We had left it on a cliffhanger and we're going to continue because when we left our last episode, T had asked a very pertinent question, right, T?
Mm-hmm.
You had said if two people enter into a relationship, one has a revelation of why it is important to be abstinent and the other one doesn't have the revelation, as you put it. Where do we go? And how do we handle that? Sorry about that.
That's the question that I asked Joe.
And we're going to delve into it.
Yeah, so maybe you can start. Jay, what do you think about that? I mean,
look, I think people handle different things differently. The same issue differently. But for me, I think you have a conversation with someone and you show up as transparent and as open as you possibly can by discussing the fact that you're on that journey and why it's important to you. Mm-hmm. Depending on where someone is, that's another question then I throw back to you. Mm. How do you meet each other halfway if somebody doesn't have that revelation or somebody's not willing to understand? And for them, sex is something that is very pertinent in a relationship, and that's where they're coming from. And it's not easy. I'm going to say this, especially for women. When you are told all the time that, you need to get someone. Because if you don't get someone, you're going to be a spinster and spend your days with cats. Or you're reaching the time where your eggs are going to expire, So I think sometimes one might feel pressured to engage in sexual activity when really it's a commitment. Being celibate or abstinence is a commitment that you have taken for your own personal reason or your own spiritual reason. It's not easy to walk away for most people. Mm. I've come to a place where, hey man, when we don't have the same values, it's okay. Mm-hmm. It's okay. And if it's very important to you to engage in sexual activity, and for me, walking a celibate or abstinent life is important to me, that's okay. Mm. How valuable is it to you? If it's very valuable that for you engaging that would never mind, let's put the spiritual aside. Mm-hmm. It would do something to your constitution as a person. Mm-hmm. You should walk away.
So that makes your question null and void, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you meet each other halfway? You don't meet each other halfway.
Depending on how important that is to you. Mm. For some people, it's maybe after like the 90-day rule and the 30-day rule. Yeah. I mean, it depends on a person. But if marriage is the goal, mm-hmm. and somebody says, well, that isn't for me, then
it's. I'll treat it like this.
Okay.
It's like looking up in the sky
mm-hmm.
at night. And you see the stars.
A beautiful time to look up.
A beautiful time to look up. And you see the lights in the sky. It's bright up in the sky.
It is.
But it's covered mostly with darkness.
True.
So no matter how big the stars and bright the stars are, what we always will see more is the darkness than just the light.
Okay.
Because the darkness covers most of the light. And for us, it becomes, it's stars. That's the phenomenon. The phenomenon just becomes the stars are bright.
I hear you.
The stars are out.
I hear
But at the back of our minds, we have more thick darkness than the light itself. Because what we see more is the darkness than the light.
True.
So the question then comes back down to is, with abstinence, if it's going to be a revelation to somebody else, and the benefits have been
So clear.
and mastered out by one person,
Yeah.
bringing the other person into the same light,
Yeah.
so that the other individual does not just see the twinkling lights.
Okay. I hear what you're saying.
That's the biggest challenge.
It is.
And so I think also it also counts with the fact of when you have that conversation, is your conversation or are your points as clear
Usually
to
they
yourself,
are. They should be.
and are they communicatable, if that's a word?
In my instance, they usually are. And I don't have a conversation with somebody where I make them feel bullied. Either you do this or you should know. It's this is where I'm at in my life. These are the reasons why I'm at this place in my life. These are the regrets that have had me come to this place in my life, and these are the benefits that this particular decision has added to my life. And because the benefits have been so great, and the benefits have been advantageous, this is why I live this way. And it would be great if we both did that.
Okay, so let's bring it back a little. Is this at the beginning of a relationship, or the relationship has taken a bit of a walk? Because the question that I asked was, when you have already gone a mile,
Yeah,
you have already hit the third base,
yeah,
you both enjoy that space with one another, you both enjoy the love making, and then boom, you get a revelation, and it's something that you want to devote yourself to. Let's take for interest's sake.
Now that's a tricky situation, and because I've been abstinent for a very long time, I haven't found myself in that particular situation. But it would be, there's some people who come out of that very strong, and there's some people who've had to walk away because they're not on the same page with regards to this. So that sounds like a difficult.
Yeah.
It's a conundrum.
But would you be willing to bend over though? Because remember, when you have a conversation,
Yes.
when you have a conversation, it's either your bright lights become brighter to
Yes,
the other individual,
yes.
and then the stars suddenly becomes the sun.
Yes.
That takes away the darkness.
Uh-huh.
Now, what if the other individual manages to shed a brighter light?
Am I the person who wants to take a
Let's-
new
let's-
direction,
let's-
or am I the one who's reluctant to stop having the sex?
Let's take it in that light of you being the one that wants to abstain,
Okay.
maybe until marriage.
Okay. And we've already been having sex.
And you have already gone
Until this point,
yes.
okay.
Yeah.
I'd approach it the same and have a conversation. Have a conversation that I know we have we have been enjoying the physical intimacy. Let me say this. When I was engaging in sexual activity before I got married, there was never any peace. There was never any peace. So I think I would communicate that I don't have peace after the activity itself. And that really unravels my conscience.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what it's doing. What it's doing to me, and it's an aching that I don't think if you're not doing that you'd understand, because it's not necessarily physical. It's not. Maybe it involves a bit of the soul, your emotions, but it's spiritual. There's an aching and a sorrow and a mourning in your spirit, and I don't know. I think it's very difficult to explain that to somebody. But you trust that somebody would be understanding enough to say, I don't want to be part of an activity that leaves you in that state thereafter. Because it doesn't mean the sex is bad. I think it's practiced out of the context it should be.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? So oftentimes the regret or the sorrow that comes with it makes the whole activity seems like it's a bad thing. No, it's a good thing. Sex comes from God. But if you're doing it in a manner in which you're not supposed to be doing it, that's where the sorrow comes from. So how about we try to enjoy ourselves when it'll allow us the peace thereafter, the joy thereafter, because we're doing something so beautiful, but the after effects, they don't coincide with the activity itself. And for me, that the kind of oxymoron, it's like what's that psychological term, cognitive dissonance. Is it cognitive dissonance? Yes, it's like that. So I just, yeah, that's how I would approach it, I think.
But then where does it leave the other individual though? Because remember, the other individual is at a place where they are okay with it. They are at peace with it. And remember, the body wants what it wants.
It does.
It's like the body's got a mind of its own.
It does.
And we have to work with the body's mind.
True.
And try to either pummel it and bring it to submission to our own mind or our own belief.
Sure.
But with what you're saying, I'm hearing more of, it's actually more of a belief than it is cognitive.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because the more you're talking about it, it's more to do with the context.
Yeah. Okay. I hear you.
Of the activity. In which context is the activity? The reason why it gives you guilt or no peace after the activity itself is because of the belief system that it is being done or it is active in the wrong context.
True.
Because if it is the act in itself, then after marriage, what happens?
I think, and I agree with you, it's the belief. It's and I'm happy to admit that it's the belief. But it's also, I think also, it always created feelings of not being safe. There's safety in a covenant. There's safety in a covenant. There is a promise that this person is yours and you're not, and you're theirs. When it's happening outside, there was a feeling of no safety because there's nothing binding us together, and so we're sharing this very intimate, very vulnerable, very personal activity with one another, and I don't feel safe. It would bring out a lot of things, and the safety that you're not mine. You could leave anytime. You could leave now. There's nothing, not that people don't leave in marriages, but the safety that I think a covenant brings also, it wasn't there.
So would you now say that safety is cognitive, or that safety is a belief?
It is a belief.
It's a belief.
Yeah.
So that then means that when two people are not standing on the same belief ground, there will be bound to be differences.
True.
And there is no safety.
True.
But then that also comes down to, how do you choose?
How do you choose?
How do you choose who you choose? Is it based upon belief? Is it based upon the same
Values.
mind
Okay.
wave? Is it based upon status and values?
Isn't it a bit of everything?
It should be.
Yes.
But then when one overrides the other,
Yeah.
there will always be those differences. Remember, we both have different backgrounds.
We do.
So if we all have different backgrounds and different understanding of things,
Yeah.
our thinking process will also be different.
Obviously.
So when you have a revelation
Mm-hmm.
in your belief and we are in the same space,
Uh-huh.
I claim to have the same belief as you do,
Okay.
but we now start to change or to shift.
Mm.
Maybe you have reached a heightened level of revelation
Mm-hmm.
and you see certain things in a different way.
True.
We are humans,
Yeah.
we adapt.
Mm-hmm.
In as much as we adapt, we grow.
Always.
We grow in our
Always.
revelation, we
Always.
grow in our maturity and
Emotions,
all of that. Emotions.
Our thoughts.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Would you then say that you have outgrown the other individual if they are still comfortable with the setting that was there before your revelation?
Is the and I'm gonna answer this with a question, because sometimes that happens.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know immediately that you've outgrown someone, or does it take time for you to see that you've outgrown someone? Because putting an issue in front of someone for the first time that you have been mulling over in your head, because that's what happens with
Yeah.
me. I mull things first in my head, and then I allow those thoughts to become words when I think the timing is right. So then you communicate with somebody that this is something that I've been thinking about, and this is where I am. Do you not give that person an opportunity, also the space and the time to mull it over as you have had the time to mull it over and see where they are? Or do you just quickly just assume that somebody is not growing at the same pace as you? Do you not allow somebody the same opportunity as you have given yourself?
Well, that is fair enough to allow somebody the same opportunity that you have given yourself. I mean,
Yeah.
like it's for an example, we have, if we take for an example a relationship of a couple
Yeah.
in a marriage,
Yeah.
or in a relationship.
Yes.
Let's put it in that way. Also in both contexts.
Yeah.
In most cases, women have got this popular saying that goes, "We need to talk."
Yes.
Okay, and as men, we have grown to be so scared of those words because those words now start to mean quite a lot.
To me, not in this, they're in agreement. Jono,
Yeah.
are you in agreement as well? Oh wow, okay.
because what I have now grown to understand out of that is that the gunny sack is now full.
Okay.
So you have been mulling over something.
Yes.
You have been thinking about it. You have been collecting your evidence. You have been putting your case together. Now you are ready to deliberate it in front of,
Yes.
and the other individual
Yes.
is not ready for that.
No.
That becomes like an ambush.
Yeah.
So it is only fair for you then to give them enough time
Exactly.
also to go over their case.
Yes.
However, it doesn't always happen like that. Because
No.
once you have brought it to me,
Yeah.
I'm going to think it in the light of you, not so much in my own light and my own revelation. So if I'm going to accept it, I'm going to accept it because you want it that way. I'm going to accept it because I'm going to think about it because you have thought about it.
Yeah.
But if it's something that I have thought about in the way that you have thought about it,
Yeah.
and then when we then talk about it,
Yeah.
then the levels become equal in the sense that we both can now bring to the table our cases and either present or defend our case.
Okay.
All right. When it comes to outgrowing an individual,
Yeah.
like what you're saying, it's fair enough to give the other individual time to go through their
Yeah.
case and think about it and really be true to themselves, be vulnerable to themselves,
Yeah.
to their own self.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the challenge then comes in the aspect of disagreement or not seeing it in the same light.
Yeah.
I see the light, but the light that I see is of a star.
Sure.
What's surrounding the star is the darkness.
Yes.
Whereas you see the same star, but what you see is that star being the sun.
And it illuminates everything.
It illuminates the darkness.
Yeah.
So for you, there is no gray areas.
Yeah.
There is no shady area. There is no balancing out.
Yeah.
There is no meeting each other halfway.
And hence the term when somebody says, I've come to a certain truth. I've come to this decision.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then how does somebody then take your revelation and is able to see it in their light?
It's in the presentation.
So for example, you're now in my shoes. You're the one who's come to that revelation. How do you put it forward?
Well, if we have already been enjoying that part of
The 6.
yeah, and that part of our relationship,
Sure.
because it's a contributing factor
Sure.
to our relationship.
It is.
Then my presentation to it has to also cover all the other angles of it being available and it no longer being available. What are some of the things that we can actually do that will be an alternative?
What are some of the things? I mean, anything is hard to quit cold turkey.
It comes down to your understanding of what do you both value when it comes to intimacy.
Yeah.
What is intimacy to you? What is love making to the both of you?
And to be honest, when I decided to take the abstinent route, I actually realized that for me, it's not even the sex that makes me feel closer to someone. It is the emotional connection. I treasure that above anything. I'm not eager for a man to put his hands on me in that regard. I'm eager for a man to what makes somebody very attractive to me is when they allow themselves to be vulnerable. They allow themselves to be seen. I actually find that more attractive, which then has the possibility to lead to the physical attraction. So yeah.
So what if all those other boxes are ticked and yet you have both agreed to abstain? Because it has to be satisfied. He ticks the box, he's seen, he's vulnerable, he's open with you, but then it now needs to be satisfied. And yet you have come to that place where you have both agreed to say, we'll abstain.
Ladies and gentlemen, we pick up this conversation after this quick short break. Remember, we're on the following platforms. SME Fusion on Sundays at 5 p.m. African time. We are on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Check us out on those platforms and we'll see you after the break. Ciao. Do listen to the podcast on the following platforms. We are on SME Fusion. We are on Google Podcast. We are on Anchor, iTunes, and Breaker. Do follow us on the following platforms: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. We will see you soon. Ciao.